We need to go to our import code. We haven't actually cracked open the editor extensions at all here in forever. So this is going to be the sprite creator. So where the hell is it? It's like entity object, asset types, entity editor, tools, like, okay, so we got the effect importer tool, we've also got the character importer tool. Create all sprites for this guy. Okay, so create sprite for. So we've got our texture name, our texture path, get asset from image name. Okay, so we're going to say our frame data is this, and we're calling asset tools create asset. So we've got like some sort of paper sprite factory, I believe, is in there. So it's going to be paper sprite, or I don't know where the fuck it is. Entity actor factory, asset broker, asset type, entity factory. No. Dashkin texture tool. Alright, so we're creating a new texture here. Flipbook factory. So we need a flipbook. Okay, we need to attach the sockets to the sprite. Okay, so if retrieve collision geometry. Alright, so we have rect, circle, event, socket, and pivot. So object frame mx, object frame my. So we need to get the pivot location here. Okay, so the pivot x, we need to subtract the pivot location from this, I believe. So set rotation, so object frame mx, and we need to subtract the pivot dot x, and I think pivot dot y. I think that's all we need to do. Looks like it's looking more promising that we'll actually get the music in for this update, which is awesome. Everybody should be happy about that. So the forest will have its own music, as it should. Our composer guy was kind of under the weather, which is never fun for anybody. So that's just how life works. Unless you want the music track to just be like a composer like delirious on like Dayquil or something. Just composer drank a bunch of NyQuil, and the music that we got is really fucking trippy. The forest level has a drug themed background soundtrack, as any good forest should. Life, you can keep it. Yeah. Hey. So it is. Right, let's go ahead and import that character. Well, I'm glad the import stuff is a lot better than it used to be, because this used to be just like, okay, let me disconnect from source control. Let me do all this other shit. Alright, so let's go back to these sprites and take a look at what's going on with the transforms. It looks like the sockets are actually like we're adding new sockets every single goddamn time here. Alright, so we need to change the editor to remove all sockets. Remove socket, and we want to sprite get sockets. Alright, so paper sprite.cpp, remove socket, sockets.remove all. Yeah, if we go to paper sprite.h, we go to sockets. Is this a public variable? No, of course not. Of course it's not a fucking public variable. Let's remove socket. We're gonna want a void remove all sockets. And of course we'll have to check this stuff out. So paper sprite.h, save that, and paper sprite remove all sockets. Sockets.reset. Is that what we need to do? Because sockets is it's a T array, so yeah, that'll work. Alright, so the texture tool is going to need to call remove all sockets. So we'll get that. And set translation, pivot X and pivot Y. And I'll have to walk through this after I import the next thing and see if it's working at all. Because it may have been working, everything was all screwy. So I'll have to build this, and this might take a little while to build since we edited some core stuff. Shit. man. I think our composer has some colorful emails. He'd be a good person to go to the pub with or something like that. But I don't know about much else. Let's see. Yeah, the so let's go ahead and import that photo booth character again. Alright, so Sprite 0 has got the 2 sockets, Trail 1 and Trail 2. And let's see, the other sprites all have their sockets, 0 and 1. Awesome, so they got all that stuff. Trail 1 and Trail 2. The issue being that it looks like they're way wrong in the Y. Yeah, as you can see, the they're like super far the fuck off in the wrong direction. So let's take a look at what the code is actually doing. Yeah, so we can see that the pivot is totally screwed, and we're adding them in the wrong dimensions. Looks like we're adding in the wrong locations. So the setting the translation, so we don't want the pivot X and the pivot Y. So this is going to be on the translation. So we want the pivot location before we so we have the location of the offset. So we're going to go through, if the object type equals pivot, then we're going to get the pivot location in the object frame. So that's going to be the pivot location. Okay, so we want the F vector 2D, we want the pivot translation, and that's going to be an F vector 2D 0 vector to start with, and we're going to say this is going to be the object frame. And then we want to just like add in the, So this will be like 64, and then we want to subtract the pivot translation x and the pivot translation y, I believe. So we'll see how that goes. We're not using the frame data for this thing, are we? Maybe we are. It's been so long since I looked at this code. Might have to walk through it a bit more. All right, that's looking a little bit more promising, isn't it? Like that looks like it's actually working. No. So that's the frames right there. So trail 2 goes up, then down, and it looks like it's all actually working properly. Okay, so the issue was with the import process and that whole pipeline. So that's pretty cool. Let's make sure to check that in. Because that's definitely something that we need. Fixing character imports for socket positions. I'm not sure when that got broken, but it got broken probably when we did like all the translation stuff and fixed it. And I just probably fat fingered something in there without testing it. Awesome. So that looks great. So sockets are there. So the next thing will be what is this? Excellent. Very good. Anyway, I will be right back. Alright, let's see. One of the things I need to check is that the game actually works in the test environment on the server, which I got back running today. So let's double check that that actually does what we'd expect. Looks like the game is bigger now, and we're up to 410 megs for that installer. Every level makes it a larger game. You know, we never actually deployed the services out to that thing. Why don't we do that? Yeah, let's go ahead and make the Java server, and then we will deploy it out to test and make sure that works. There's no games. What? But I totally booted up the game server. Oh no. Why? So let's go log into the game servers and see why they're not working. Well, supposedly there are 2 game servers that are running. One the sunny day map, one the foggy night map. This question would be, why are they not in the browser list? Failed to make global prof root. Let's see. Platform successfully recognizes this thing. Platform detects blah. Making connections. Discovered telemetry. So they're just not heart beating? Port detected is 7777. Load map LV server. Okay, so we loaded the server. External profiling features will not be available. Alright, so why isn't this thing doing what it should? Oh, well, I'm running against the test environment, right? Not the prod environment. So I'm looking at different boxes than you. So it must have changed how the game servers start up and configure themselves. So if we go to the platform manager, we've got the game name set to official Virginia, game ID set to blah from command line, creating tick actor, get login info, login page prompt using server key, platform recognizes starting service discovery, platform detects public host name, creating new client, on platform connected. We are fully logged in. Alright, so on login success. Alright, so this is the game platform manager. Server key is true. Yeah, something's busted. I'm gonna have to fix it. Alright, so it has server config. So our server config file is missing. So we have not updated our Java stuff to do this. Let's see. So we need to write a config file for our server in order to have it actually work. So it looks like. So what does the config file even look like? Well, it looks like this. Alright, so I definitely overlooked actually making sure that our dedicated servers would work with this update. So that's a stupid error on my part. Alright, so what we're going to have to do is actually fix all of this crap all at once. Hooray! So what we're going to have to do is make sure that it actually, we actually have something here. I'm going to need to add it. How many times do I need to say I need to add something? I need to add this thing. You know what I need to do? I need to add this server config file. That's what I need to do. You know what else I need to do? Add the server config file. Yeah, that's just what I need to do. I'm glad I went ahead and made sure I was paying attention. So what we want is, we want our starting map. So if we look at our dedicated server options, we're going to want a few things. So we're going to want these things. They're going to be options. There's going to be game name. There's going to be a time limit. How long are matches right now in production? Are 5 minutes? Alright, so our time limit's going to be 300 seconds. Team size max is going to be 3. Let's see, score to win is going to be 5. Our game port is going to be port 1. And we've got our beacon port, which is going to be port 2. And then we've got our listed publicly. That's going to be true. Allow team swap. It's going to be true. Admin pass is going to be, well, I'll actually have a special password for this, won't I? I should just say pass. And we might actually make the admin password for some of this, maybe an open secret to start with. We'll see. And allow all players to change settings. False. Okay, so I need to go to our watch process file. Can't believe I forgot about this. But this all needs to be in an actual config file because we're very quickly going to have an incredible number of options. You know, that might be something that getting pacifist mode enforced might be something that I should do today or tomorrow. Like that you know, that might actually be something that we could do. Kind of like every other game is a pacifist game or something. Just like put it in there, because we don't have, like, I can't get everything done, but I might be able to get some of it done. I don't know. Does that sound like a good idea? Hey Adam, how's it going? I'm just working on I screwed up the server config for the test environment, so I'm fixing that. So allow team swap. And I think you got my message about the... Oh, you ready for a call whenever? That was 10 minutes ago. Alright, well let me finish typing a few things up. Maybe like 5 minutes? Does that sound good? So we do the call on the hour, and I'll probably stop the stream for that, just because who cares? Besides Karakan. Alright, so allow team swap, and then we've got the admin pass. Hello, the one person. 5 minutes is good, alright. Allow all players to change settings. Nah, we need to just make sure that the update's important. And my stream's a shit show anyway, so I'm not worried about it. Alright, so what we want to do is, we're writing our server key up here and all that garbage. What we need to do is, if what is this? What config do we have for this? It's going to be like this process dev. Yeah, so we need to add it here. Write server config. And we also need the server config path. That's what you look like? I see how it is. That's pretty fucking disturbing. God damn. No, it's fine. I'm not trying to rag on you. So I need to write down the stuff that I need to do real quick, because otherwise I'll forget. So stuff I need to do, I need to make sure that the process watcher writes out the config file. I need to add an admin password for our servers. So basically Adam and I can hijack the servers whenever we want and change all the settings. I want to add in the deployment tool needs to write if we're writing a config file. And for make sure it all works and is pushed out to test. The other thing I need to do is make a launch checklist so I don't forget to push the backend servers and configs on the updates. Alright. Cool, so I'm gonna drop off the stream here. Thanks for watching and all that cool stuff. I've got more important things to do than this. Yeah, make sure we are organized. So anyway, have a good one. We'll be back in whenever we're finished, probably. So thanks for sticking around, and I will be back later today.